everyone. My name is Celso Dulay, the host of GBomb, the show where we spotlight the extraordinary people that make up the fabric of our community. An activist is defined as someone who champions for political and social change. Our guest today, Donna Sachet, is an activist, a philanthropist, humanitarian, hostess, singer, and performer who tirelessly works to uplift our community with tenacity and a whole lot of glamour. But if you ask her, she'll simply say she's just a giver. Hi, Donna.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
I'm a GBomb.
You are a GBomb. You're a GNews and a GBomb. San Francisco, as you know, it's a trailblazing city. We do everything kind of first we establish. People look to us for inspiration. One thing that stands out that we do very well is the San Francisco Gay Pride Parade and Celebration.
Huge.
Huge, right? They think of us as kind of like a gay mecca. Hundreds of thousands of people flock to San Francisco to come to the Pride Parade and Celebration. And then, I don't know how many, but it's got to be up there in the thousands or the tens of thousands that watch either on cable or on television and now online. So maybe it's hundreds of thousands online. And at the helm of the entire thing is you. Right? No pressure.
How did that ever happen?
No pressure. How does that feel to be in all of that?
Well, it is funny. Of all the things that people talk to me about when I'm out just in the public, whether it's a gay community or even a mixed community, that's the thing people say, aren't you the one? It's kind of like, so I know how those national faces must feel wherever they go, you know, and mine's in a much smaller way. But people do know me from that. And when I first started doing it, I thought, boy, what a responsibility. I loved the idea, but I took it very seriously from the beginning. And the first time I did it with a couple of anchors that were, it was what was it? It was Channel 4, I think, or WB40. Anyway, so it was a couple of straight co-anchors. I was really amazed at how ill-prepared they were. It was just like, oh, another parade, oh, this parade. Now, this one's been around since, and they'd look at the notes and stuff. Well, I really wanted to be prepared. I was ready for it. It was my community, of course, but you have to take it seriously, and then you will deliver it seriously, and with guts, with information.
Your longtime friend, cohort, and the former president of Pride, Gary Virginia, said to us this: "No one knows the gay community in the Bay Area as well as she does. If there was all of a sudden no script and she had to ad-lib the entire parade, she could. With 200 contingents, roughly, that's quite a statement."
That is a great compliment. Let's remember it's from a friend. I think he wants to let people know that he's my friend and he believes in me as he does. It is, I mean, 25 years in this community, some of it becomes ingrained. I mean, you know automatically. But there are names that escape you. There are dates certainly that escape me. Numbers are not my strong point. So I have to refresh all that. But if there were not a script, it would be a little different parade. I would have something to say, but I wouldn't have something to say about everybody. But it would still be all positive. That's my big thing, too. I am so proud of our community. I know there are some groups that I am a little less informed about or even uncomfortable with. But I want to make sure the community is proud of them, too. If they have 6 people, if they have 4 people, or if they have 3,000 people, they're marching in the biggest gay pride parade in the world.
Hosting and performing seem to be second nature for you. Has it always been the case? Have you always been able to kind of work a crowd and work a room?
I've always felt good in that position. I don't know that I've always been as successful. I think sometimes when I was a kid, I was more of a buffoon. You know, when you're in the class and you're like, oh, look at that kid do this. And I did impersonations of celebrities when I was in high school, but I think they were laughing at me as much as they were laughing at the act. It's somewhat natural, but I'm always nervous. I mean, I think if you're not nervous before you go on, you're probably not taking it seriously enough.
Activist and philanthropist are terms that kind of get tossed around a lot these days. When I asked you about philanthropy, you said, oh, I'm a giver. But bear with me here because I want to just run through the list.
With me on the air.
With you on the air. I know. We don't have all day, but here you go. You've either been on the board or are on the board of the Positive Resource Center, the Imperial Council, San Francisco LGBT Community Center, AIDS Emergency Fund, Equality California. You also write a biweekly column that's on the Bay Area Reporter. You co-chaired the GLAAD Media Awards for 4 years. In addition to hosting the coverage of the San Francisco Pride Parade, you've been a community grand marshal. Your annual Pride Brunch raises upwards of $40,000 annually. You've won so many awards and honors that we really can't go into it here, but they do include being sainted by the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, Miss Gay San Francisco 1993, Absolute Empress 30, and oh yes, by the way, every Sunday for a decade you've been hosting Sundays a Drag at the Starlight Room in the San Francisco Drake.
I've never said for a decade. That sounds good.
What does all of that mean to you?
Well, it's kind of amazing when you see it all on the list, I guess, and some of those surprised because they were a little further back or something. It's different parts of your life and what you're involved in. There's so many choices we have in, like, philanthropy and activism. I think are two different things. You're emphasizing the two words. But if we're talking about giving right now, I give to organizations I know about, that I believe in, and that I have been convinced are doing great work for a good budget, that they're within a good budget. And so that makes me gravitate to certain organizations, and they may lead to another one because a friend of mine says, oh, I've got this other thing going on, and I'll say, my time's limited, but tell me about it, and they might go that way. But I'm kind of restless, and I guess that's one of the reasons I've done all those things. And you can do them all and not be recognized, but this is a great community for recognition. They really do watch people, and they know that by rewarding and making people feel good about what they've done, they're going to continue to do things. I think that's just part of our community.
I shared this story with you when we were talking before about I happened to be at this apartment in Alamo Square, and it was during the holidays, and I looked out the window, and it's this building.
I love this story.
It's this building that's on the corner. It's used for a lot of city functions and that kind of a thing. I think it's an embassy or some sort. At any rate, the limousine pulls up, and out comes Donna Sachet in this full, Mrs. Claus kind of esque, red with the white fur, on the arm of the mayor of San Francisco, going in, and of course it's Donna. And this is kind of a conversation that I have with my friends too. You're everywhere. How do you do it? How do you find the time? How do you find the motivation? Sometimes when you're not feeling well and you have to go to an event.
Well, I think I told you before, I say yes a lot more than I say anything else, and even before I say no, I say maybe. I don't know what it is. I mean, I love doing things because I know the needs are there, and I know at this point in my career, at least, I know that I can contribute something. But there are two reactions to what I do. Especially what you just saw. Your reaction is exactly the one I want. Of course, Donna's there, and you're proud of me. There are others who say, oh, there she goes again. What's she doing up there? You can look at it that way too. Why isn't somebody else there? Well, we each have to do the work we do and earn the respect we earn, and then we don't choose to be accepted by the mainstream city leadership. We don't choose to be accepted by a diverse activist group. We are accepted by what we do. And I've just been very lucky and very fortunate that way. I've known every mayor since I've moved here, not all as well, and not all as receptively, but it's an important thing, I think, to be involved in every aspect of our city because it all fits together. This is an activist city. Mm-hmm. Everything matters.
When you finally decided to make San Francisco your home from leaving New York City, one of the things you did was, as kind of like a statement, you canceled your subscription to the New York Times as okay, I'm going to be here now. And you also joined the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus.
It was one of the best things I ever did. My first year here was not particularly pleasant. I, of course, was working hard because it was a new job and I wanted to establish myself. But I had an apartment on Russian Hill, and I had a view of Alcatraz. I mean, it sounded idyllic, but
beautiful,
nobody would visit me. It was so far away from
me. It's up the hill, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just was out of it, and I couldn't let go of New York. I think that was a big part of it, and so that was part of the symbolic canceling the New York Times subscription, which I have subscribed again since. But at the time, I needed to go. And then I thought, nobody's visiting me. Well, am I visiting anybody? I'm just working all the time and coming home. So I thought, well, I love to sing, and I've missed singing, so why don't I join a chorus? And I'm not religious, so what are the choices? You join a choir at the Baptist church, or so I looked and I saw the Gay Men's Chorus. I researched it a little bit. It was the first openly gay chorus, the first chorus to have the word gay in it. And I love the fact they took a tour early on and went across the country, and choruses sprung up from all the cities they went to. It just sounded like such a leadership kind of thing. You have to audition, so I was a nervous wreck. You come in prepared with "Over the Rainbow" was my preparation, nice. But and you come in, and it was just the best thing I ever did because it opened my world up to gayness in general. Up until then, my experience with gay people were either really good friends or they were like this menu of men out there that who could I entice or go to a club and get involved with somebody. Well, now I began to know rich gay men and poor gay men, employed gay men and non-employed gay men, educated, not educated, backgrounds from the South, from Europe or whatever, all kinds of people, and they were interesting. I mean, and I didn't care for a lot of them in a sexual way. It was deeper than that and bigger than that. And we had this wonderful thing of music in common. We made beautiful music together, and we certainly did. That was under Dr. Stan Hill. He was just seminal for the chorus. It was really great.
It's also the place that your moniker
Who's feeding you all this
born.
information? Yes.
One part faux talent show, one part emerging ingenue, and voila, we have Donna Sachet.
Yeah, and people always are curious how long this has been around. I always say I don't put drag on, I let it out. I mean, this character was always within me, and although it never emerged in Georgia or South Carolina, not in college, not even in Dallas or New York. Shall I tell you the whole story about the thing? It's sort of embarrassing because I didn't even have a dress because this is how far along I was. So I had this black robe with a dragon on the end, people have, I guess, and I thought, well, that'll be my outfit. And I had gotten a wig. I'd begun to experience that. So it's like this wig everybody teased, called it yak hair. It was just like teased to the nines. I had no heels, so I wore ballet slippers because I hadn't had those when I danced. And so I did a Donna Summer number, and I thought, I'm going to lip sync this Donna Summer number. The day of, I was in the parking lot. I remember the gravel on my feet trying to rehearse this thing. I can't miss a word. They're going to be so critical. And I must have delivered it well because as I was leaving the stage, somebody said, look at her sachet. I said, my name was Donna Winter because she's black and I'm white. Donna Summer, Donna Winter, but I like Donna Sachet better. Yes. So that became the name.
You also have another first. There's lots of firsts. You are a trailblazer. First drag performer to sing the U.S. national anthem at the opening of a Major League Baseball game. Now, you gave me a great story about how you got the gig, so I'd love for you to share that with us, too. But I also want to know what it was like to be out there. I say trailblazer, hadn't been done before, and there you are in the middle of that field.
Well, again, that's a credit to San Francisco as much as it's a credit to me. I mean, they were ready for it, or they were accepting of it, and it happened here in San Francisco. I don't know where else it could happen. And I'd worked with a gentleman who was part of the whole Giants thing, and he was wrapping up this big project, and he was really nervous about it because there was a lot of video of him, and he wasn't comfortable with that. I really helped him, I think. And at the end of it, he said, Donna, you've just been so great with it. I could have never done this. If there's ever anything I can do for you, let me know. And he started to turn away, and I said, well, actually, like they do in the movies, there's one little thing. And I said, I've always wanted to sing the national anthem for the Giants. I know you do it at every game. And I think for a minute he thought, this is, how could she ask it? But just a look on his face. And so he said, well, I mean, I'm not the one that chooses them, but I mean, it could happen, I guess. You'd probably have to have a demo and everything. And I said, like this? And I pulled it out of my purse. I was ready for him because I really wanted to do it. And I'd recorded, me singing the national anthem with background and everything. I was going to wear a red suit because I'm known for red, and I found out they were playing the Arizona Razorbacks that day.
So can't do that.
And at the last minute, wouldn't have been a terrible. It would have been a betrayal of everything that I was trying to do. So I of course had a suit that I could wear, and what are the Giants are orange basically. So I had a black suit, and I sent somebody to Britex to get a piece of fabric in orange. I made that a scarf, and if you see the pictures, it's a big scarf, just a piece of fabric.
That's fantastic.
To cater to them. So it was so energizing, though. I mean, you don't realize maybe until halfway through the song you think, this is the longest song. It's only 3 minutes, but I remember singing at one point, like the breeze kind of caught my hair at one point, and I kind of said, and the breeze stopped. I don't know what it was. Everything worked right, and I just was so proud. I saw that Jumbotron, 40,000 people, my friends. It was magical.
That's amazing. For over a decade, you've been hosting, singing, performing in a jewel box that we like to call the Starlight Room on top the 21st floor of the Sir Francis Drake here in San Francisco. What was the genesis of Sundays Are a Drag? And what do you think helps to keep this show going? It's over 10 years, and it's still a packed house. You still sell it out. What keeps it going?
Well, the genesis of it was really Harry Denton. And again, this is just sort of a credit to San Francisco. We merge more than we do in other communities. I mean, Harry Denton was not certainly a big part of the gay community, but he was known to work in that world, and he was also known as Mr. San Francisco. If he had a party, it was worth going to. It opened several clubs, and the Starlight Room was Harry Denton's Starlight Room. And he approached me because we'd run into each other at different events, social events and arts groups or organizations, and he said, I've got a great idea. And I'm always scared of these new ideas because I've got so much going on already. But I met with him, and Michael Pagan was the producer of the show at the time. And we sat down, and they had this idea. And as they were talking, it was like, oh, really? A drag show on Sunday in Union Square. Every Sunday. Oh, look, 2 shows. I mean, everything about it, I just thought that we're overdue. I don't know. But they had the confidence in me and the resurgence of drag. I mean, I don't know what their pulse was, but they really believed in it, and they convinced me. So I kind of said, I don't want to just jump into this. Let's do a 6-week thing, and if it takes off, then it takes off, and let's really invest in it and make it fun. Because the Starlight Room is really a lounge. You know, people go and they dance, maybe, and there's DJ music, but maybe a live ensemble once in a while. But they turned it into a cabaret club for that short time. And the funniest thing is, you know, Harry I knew somewhat, but you know, we had one kind of dry run that afternoon before the first show. And I had rewritten the words to a song for the theme song, so which I love doing in the shower. You know, rewrite these words. And I came up with a theme song, and I sang that. And as I came off the stage, I said, "Well, so what do you think, Harry?" And he said, "You sing?" He didn't even know until then. He said, "We've got a show." So I mean, that added something to the whole thing that was not just going to be a typical drag show. And we've had a core cast that's been pretty consistent throughout. Had a lot of guest stars, and I think the larger population, certainly in San Francisco, I really think in the United States, has an appetite for drag as entertainment. But they love to see elegant, glamorous, over-the-top females, you know, delivering these emotional numbers and having a little fun at the expense of the crowd. And that's what we do. And so we try to keep it fresh with guest stars. We try to keep it fresh. I do with the topical humor as we go through. And, you know, some jokes will always work, and I use those too. So I love doing it. I always wonder how long it can last, but up until this point, you know, even through many changes in the hotel and changes in management, the loss of Harry Denton, he's no longer there, the loss of Michael Pagan, who was the original producer, they were so key to it, we thought, is that going to be it? But we've hung on to it, and it's still not just there, but it's still thriving.
The International Imperial Council court system is one of the oldest, I don't know if people know this, it's one of the oldest and largest LGBT organizations in the world. Your absolute Empress 30 and the woman in red. The color red is nearly inseparable from your iconic Empress. Tell us about what it's like to be a real queen and how you got your signature color.
Well, I love that you're using those phrases because Jose Sarria is the person that founded the court system. Right here in San Francisco, he was actually the first openly gay person to run for public office, long before you know, Harvey Milk. He was a drag queen, well known for his performances as the Black Cat, and he was an over-the-top performer. And a number of people around said we need representation. They talked him into running for the city council. He got 9,000 some votes. I mean, he got a lot of votes, but at the time it was everybody ran for city supervisor, not by district. And so the top vote getters were the ones that got in, and it was not enough to get him in. But he made people sit up and pay attention. Mark Leno always says that after that election, no candidate for any office in San Francisco ignored the gay community. They knew they needed that piece to get them over the top. I love being part of that whole system, and there's so many traditions. When you run for Empress, you have to be approved by the board because they want to make sure you know what you're getting into. It is not a cheap experience. It's time-consuming. So part of the review process, they give you all these questions you answer. And then as you get closer, they say, now, what will be your bird? It's like, my bird? What am I, a state with a bird? You know? So they give you these different things, or your color. And I remember when they got to color, I thought, I didn't expect that question. I thought I'd done all this research, but I didn't expect that color. And I visually went through my closet. I had 2 black dresses, 2 blue dresses, and 3 red. Oh, red.
I love you doing a wardrobe.
While I'm talking.
What do I have in my wardrobe? Oh, red.
It was a very small wardrobe at the time, you can tell. But it was a great choice because I think blonde looks great with red. Bill Blass always called it a power color, and I do find there's power in walking into a room, especially with our community, with all the men in black tuxedos. You know, oh, they have a bright tie. Okay, so what? But there's black suits, and here's a red dress. So I mean, you do stand out. But you have to have a message if you're going to stand out, and I try to have one.
What was it like getting crowned? Because you have to run. I want everyone to understand this too.
It's a publicly elected office. Yes. Yeah. And so you, once you're declared as a candidate, you have 4 to 6 weeks. It varies for a campaign. And you want to get as many votes as I want to get as many votes as I did because I wanted to have a year that I felt supported by my community. I was only the second unopposed Empress candidate, and that kind of impacted me at first. I was like, I had all these plans for this campaign. What do I do now? I thought, well, I'm going to do everything I was going to do. You know, I was not going to back down. So crowning was very emotional because even as an unopposed candidate, you know, it could have gone either way. I don't know. You like Sally Fields? Do you really like me? I don't know. So that night. The Empress before me was a dear friend, and she took the crown off of her head to crown me with, and that was very emotional. And I love history, and that was a continuity that I thought she was Empress 29 had just crowned Empress 30.
Yes.
I waited for that number, XXX.
You did? Did you?
Yeah, because she and I talked about it. She said, I want to run for Empress. I said, well, I do too. And she said, should we run against each other? You know, no, we're too good of friends. I said, actually, I I didn't want 29. I'll wait for 30. So
I love
she was 29. I was 30.
I didn't know that. That's a nice surprise. It looks great too, the XXX.
Oh, I love
that. Is there anything else that you're particularly proud of that you'd like to share with us?
I thought you'd never ask. I mean, I think that one of the things I've always loved, very early on in my career here with my emperor, when I was Empress, we decided that we wanted to do a holiday show or a holiday singing, because we both sang. And we gathered around a piano in a bar over on Polk Street, and we sang, and people put tips in the jar, and the pianist said, Donna, where do you want this money to go to tonight? I was like, oh, those are your tips. Oh, no, you did. So those first tips went to the AIDS Emergency Fund. And I just saw that opportunity, and as I began to get more of an audience following and everything, I thought, I'm gonna do this. And I loved the old television shows, the Judy Garland special or whatever it was, that you had guest stars, but you were the anchor for it. So I started Songs of the Season, and we're gonna do our 25th year this year. And every year I've tried to get amazing people that may be local that are amazing, or maybe national that have access to somehow. And names you would know, like Leon Borghese, Jason Brock. But I've also had national people like Abigail, who has been in the show. Paula West has been in the show. And it's holiday music, but not, as I mentioned before, I'm not a Baptist or Christian in all that way. But I think the holidays are great because it makes people think about other people, about being generous. And so nobody is asked to sing about the three wise men or the Bethlehem stuff, but about generosity and about getting beyond the commercialism of Christmas. And I sing some wonderful songs that you don't hear normally about that sense of the holiday. And in 25 years from that little piano gathering, we've gotten to where it's a 3-night event now. Wow. 150 people or so per night, because I want to keep it a cabaret feeling, and we have trouble finding locations sometimes, but we have. And it makes lots of money for the AIDS Emergency Fund. I mean, we've made as much as $100,000 in a year, and varies with the crowd and the. Is
it too early to know the details for this year, or do you?
I don't know very many of the details. The one detail I know is this is the final one. It'll be the 25th, and it's a big investment of time and everything. I love doing it, but I also think it's important for us to look at the future. Like, maybe somebody else wants to do a holiday show. Am I in somebody's way of doing that? I want to make room for them, and I would always be happy to sing for somebody's show. But I think it's time for me to send it off in a great way. It's still very powerful.
So this will be the 25th year?
25th one.
Drag seems to be very in vogue right now. Gary Virginia, I had a wonderful talk with him. You guys have a very long history, you're good friends. He's, a fixture in this city as well. He's done so much. You guys have done a lot together. He said that you have built a persona based on value. What do you think of the landscape and how it's evolved currently?
Well, first of all, thank you, Gary. Again, that was a very nice comment, and I've got to digest that a little bit. That was very nice. In my opinion, this is a great time to be a drag queen, to be involved in drag in whatever way, especially in San Francisco, because it's a panoply. I mean, you can be a glamour queen, which I try to be mostly. I mean, you can be a queen that's involved in the city, as I try to be. You can also be just purely a performer, if that's what you want to do. I think RuPaul's Drag Race certainly gets a lot of credit because they put drag in every living room across America, which is great. But I have to remind people, that's a slice of drag. That's a very competitive, those people make their own clothes, they do their own hair. I mean, I'm helpless with all that. I can't put a button on. But, we just do what we do. If it feels like what you should be doing, quit trying to hamper it. Quit putting impediments in its way, and let it have its full blossom. Anything's possible within some realm, and San Francisco is certainly a place to encourage that.
We both sang in the Gay Men's Chorus, and
do people know that? Yeah, you were a big part of it.
Yes.
For how many years did you sing?
I joined in '99, and I sang under Dr. Hill, Dr. McGuire, and Dr. Seelig.
Oh, all three? Wow.
Yeah. So I left and came back, and left and came back.
You left your mark.
I did. I hope so.
That one retreat.
That one retreat left lots of marks. No, but we were backstage. It was my very first concert. It was a Christmas concert. We were backstage, and you weren't singing though. You were presenting and hosting, and we were backstage.
Do you remember where it was? Which hall?
It was Masonic.
Okay.
And you said something to me. It's something funny, and then I just looked at you and I said, "Donna, how do you do it?" And you turned to me and you said, "You just have to pull from within." And then the curtain opened and the spotlight was on and Donna walked out on stage. And that moment has stuck with me still to this day. And I think about it, and in difficult moments I think, just got to pull from within. So I've really used those little choice words
And see, that wasn't advice I gave you. That was just telling you what I do. And then you took that as advice or whatever. That's what I was talking about before. I don't want to give advice, but if you're around me and that inspired you or meant something to you, good. I'm so glad. I loved hearing that story. It is, as I said, if you're not nervous beforehand, you're not taking it seriously enough. If you get so nervous you can't do it, then you're not harnessing that nervousness in the right way. But wherever you are, if it's a, I've gone to small groups that need an inspirational speaker. There's 12 people sitting there, and sometimes they're not fully listening. They're in whatever condition that they're not fully listening, but you've got to deliver to them at the point that they can understand it. And then there's a time when you're at the base of the Washington Monument, and there are 15,000 people, and you're performing for, and that you have to take seriously. Every audience is different. Every opportunity is different, but take it seriously. Just know that it's a rare opportunity that may never be repeated.
Is there a little piece of information or something that somebody said that you've kept that motivates you?
Oh, that's interesting. Else? I don't know that you've asked me that before. I don't know that I can quote anybody. I think it's you pick up pieces and then you interpret for yourself. And I do have this silly thing, like right before I leave the house, especially if it's something that really is out of my kilter. I'm just like, what am I doing? I'm going to this thing. And like one of the weirdest things, I still hate that word, but strangest things I ever did was I emceed the International Convention of Forensic Toxicologists. And here you walk into this room, they have no interest. I mean, they don't even go to a drag queen. He's probably
How did you get that gig?
It was a personal connection, and he was gay, and he was the president that year of the organization, and he thought it would be a great thing to do. And I had all these questions, and I was going to fully deliver it for him, But the only warning he had, I said, are there any tables I should avoid? Because we're like, 900 people. He said, if they're fully covered in fabric, I wouldn't go to that table. I said, thank you. I think that's a good advice. But things like that I'm particularly nervous about are that I really have to harness that energy. I look in the mirror right before I leave and I say, I'm Donna Sachet, and you're not. I mean, there's only one of me, and I've got to be that person and all that comes with. I mean, they don't want somebody walking out there that is like, oh, she wasn't as peppy as she usually is. Oh, her hair was like, you've got to be fully you. That's what they want. That's what they bought or they hired or want to have there.
That's pulling from within.
Yep.
For sure. Well, I'd like to say just the Bay Area, but quite honestly, I think our global community is better off for having Donna Sachet in it. Thank you so much for being here with us and spending some time with us today.
Thank you. That's
really
a huge compliment. I berate myself sometimes that I don't do enough. I think anybody that does a lot wants to do more. So send me opportunities if you want me to do things.
Remember, she'll
I'll
say
try
yes,
not to say
and then
no.
maybe.
But and I love new opportunities. That's one of the reasons, again, for doing the 25th and final Songs of the Season. I want to have new opportunities and let other people do things. But it will never be enough. The causes will always continue, and if I can continue to do things and inspire other people to do things, that's what leadership is all about. So thank you for recognizing me, and I hope what I've said today has not made anybody feel less than what they should be, but encourage them to be more than they thought they could be.
That's fantastic. If you'd like to find out more information about San Francisco's Pride Parade and celebration, you can go to sfpride.org. And if you'd like to see Donna Sachet live and in person, you can go to starlightroomsf.com.
Every Sunday, 2 shows, 11:30 and 2.
We'd also like to give a big thank you to Swank Cocktail Lounge here in Laurel Heights. Thank you, Sam. I'm your host, Celso Dulay, encouraging everybody to add a little glitter to your life. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you for having me.